very pleased to welcome you, Reverend Kathleen James. I understand I can call you Kathleen.
Yes, please.
Thank you. And Reverend Greg Eskilson. Greg, good seeing you again. First of all, to people who don't know, what does a medium do?
Generally, for me, I'm more clairsentient. I get feelings and I automatically know, I'll feel a shift in the energy around me. It's the best way I could say. I feel, it can be a heaviness or but it's just calm, very calm and nice, I have friends who heat right up and their face gets red but we learn to work with that. I mean, because Spirit will always work with us the way we ask them to. No one's coming in and taking over our bodies. Nothing like that is happening. That is not a reality, in truth.
I didn't mention that you're with the Center for Spiritual Development in Old Greenwich, Connecticut.
I really am more involved in the teaching aspects of it. And that's why with Greg, we really wanted to bring the teachings that we learned from a full trance medium in the 70s. And he, as Greg said, he came through automatic typing. And that's not my first experience with Spirit, which I would be happy to share. My first experience with Spirit, before I met Greg, I went through a terrible time in my life. I was young, in my teens, and I just was, just wanted to be a good person. And this was going on in my life, and I just prayed and cried every night. They say unceasingly, because I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand the world and how it was and why certain things would come to be. And then, shortly thereafter, I found myself driving, to a friend's house, which at that time we didn't have cell phones, and she had moved an hour away. And I arrived at the door, and her stepmother, who was pretty influential when I was growing up, she would be there, all of us kids, when we were little. And I hadn't seen these people in years. And when I walked through the door, her stepmother looked at me and said, "What happened? We're going to have a séance." And her kids all said, "What are you talking about?" And it turned out that her father, I guess, was a very famous medium, but she had never wanted to do that type of work. She thought she didn't want to ever give bad news to anyone. But when she saw how I was so broken, she opened her heart and said, "Let's just do this." So we sat around this table that nobody knew I was coming to, and a voice spoke, and it was not of this world. And the voice went around the table, and it told me different things about what was going on with my family, currently, what happened in the past, and what would happen in the future. It told me specifically about the problem that I was having, and said, Greg, I can't remember. It'll happen again until you choose rightly. I always remember that. So naturally, everything that voice told me was true. And it was shaking, because what is this? I'm a Catholic girl. I go to church every week. What is this? How does this work? So it really made me realize that there was so much more to this world. And then I would fast forward, I would see myself, I would be talking to someone, and I would see their grandmother, or I would get a feeling. One time there's a lot of experiences that I had. And then I met Greg, when we were about 25 at Yankee Stadium. And I was fascinated with what a wonderful person he was, and all these ideas he had about these lessons. And he took me, we took the bus from the city to Patterson, and I'm thinking, is this the Moonies or what? Am I going to come back? And here, as Greg said, this was an old man in a wheelchair, and he would talk through these lessons. Like we said, the lessons are an outline, and then you would stop at a certain point, and you would you would just see around him this light, and you knew, like, the room shifted, and there's a change that happens with the energy, and you could really feel it. And I just really became very involved with the teachings. We took classes for many years, and fast forward to current day, I always kid around that when people say, oh, if your house caught on fire, what would you grab? And of course my children, number one, pets, yes, but I would grab the lessons. And then I asked Greg the same question, and his answer was the same, because these lessons have carried us through our life and we haven't had an easy go of it at all. We have been challenged many times, and like everybody has their things that we work through in life. But I would come back to it, and I would read it, and I would remember, and then, different things like that.
I wanted to ask you about the experience you had at the séance.
Yeah.
The voice, you said, went around. Did you heard the voice?
Yes.
Do you know if other people heard the voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, her kids did it. So it was quite a shock to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't think I saw her after that time, because our lives were so different. We weren't even in that same world. So it was odd that I ended up there. It was odd that she did that. And it was odd, the whole experience. But it definitely changed my life to know that there is more. And then, I read so many things about, obviously you want to know, well, what is this? And what am I experiencing? What am I feeling? And so you then meet other people who are on the path, and you share your experiences, what you've felt, what has happened. And we studied, my good friend Liz, who we teach at the center, in Greenwich. We studied for many years together at, the Journey Within in
New Jersey.
Very beautiful teacher, Reverend Janet Havoc. And so everybody has their own way of teaching or learning. Ours is it's just a natural unfolding, and that everybody is unique. And my purpose isn't to go and tell you about your Uncle Larry or this and that. My purpose in teaching mediumship is for people to connect with their higher self, connect with God, angels, helpers, whatever you want to call it, but to feel that presence and to feel that guiding love to hold you when you're feeling weak, when you're feeling lost, which many people experience that through prayer. That's exactly what it is. There'll be that.
I've heard people say that everyone has spirit guides, but certainly not everyone is aware of having spirit guides.
Right.
And so what's going on there? Why is that?
Well, I think you have to have a certain sensitivity to first acknowledge the possibility that they're there, right? And I think then you can, ask, to feel their presence be known more to you, let that in your heart. And, it's not as hard as it sounds. It's actually very easy. And it's all, the path of love. They say, for mediumship, the doorway, the key is love. So if you're in a loving vibration, then they can come closer, or not that they're coming closer because they're already here, which I don't mean to, you had mentioned before, are you bothering anybody, or, are you?
Yes.
No.
And I was asking about, during the break, I was asking about when you are in contact with people who have passed, I'm thinking you might be bothering people who have passed,
Yeah.
disturbing people. What do you say?
Well, you're not. I mean, for me, I like if you do platform and you sit there and you just say, I'm here to help. If there's anybody that, needs to have healing, to know, like I had been healed about my mother passing, I had a medium told me, I was at the end of the bed. Oh, well, that was great evidence, because that's what I was saying, like, mediums that give that evidence, it's absolutely wonderful.
You use the word platform, so we should identify.
So platform. In our church service, we do healing, and then there'll be a lecture, and then there'll be a part where you'll stand up and you'll do spirit communications. So no matter any reading you do, you would sit and you connect your higher self, God. If there's someone that needs help, let me be a channel. Let me be a channel for that, and let me get out of the way. Not say what I think you need to hear, but what you need to tell them. I remember one time this woman came in the back of the church, and my heart is like beating a mile a minute, because the person who came through was just so thrilled. And, that's, how amazing is that? How fascinating
so tell me,
is that?
this is very interesting. Tell me more about, you're in the church and there are congregants, and how does the spirit communication actually, what's going on really? Someone in the congregation, something comes through about someone, or do they stand up if they want?
No, yeah. Basically, the medium will get up. Some people will go direct. And one way to go direct, would be, we were taught, you would see like a light over them. You'd know this person here, there's someone here for this person. And then you would, go directly and give them a message. If it's not direct, it's vague. I have this lovely woman. She's here. Her name's Arlene. She used to do, talk on the phone. She worked for the telephone company, or she did whatever it is.
Okay.
But so we basically just stand up there and are impressed with either seeing things in our mind's eye. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people think it's all you're physically seeing people all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's not, maybe some people do, but generally speaking, from everything and all the people I've studied, it's more in your mind's eye. You get a flash of things, you see things, and, you'll hear something, just out of just a word, and you're like, oh, it's Frank. I'm not this great, fantastic, wonderful medium, but I'm trying to just serve in the way that is best to help other people. That's really it, so.
Yeah, I was more than an agnostic about this whole subject, until I had some experiences myself, and they became totally unbidden.
Yeah.
I had a very strong dream one night that wasn't a normal dream, of someone who had died in our family, and it was my someone, his granddaughter was 1 year old just then, and it's as though he came, and then I was at the closet coming after the party and putting my coat, and then I felt his presence right there. And so I started thinking, wow, there's something.
I don't know, it doesn't shake you, but it wakes you a little bit,
and
right?
And I loved having that happen, because it brought him, I felt so good that also he felt that he could, that maybe I was open to it, and so he came to me.
Yeah.
So that was great. Did you find any pushback from people, because you mentioned your Catholic upbringing?
Yeah, my family, they always think, I'm strange. She would go and have her, her cards read, or this and that, or, I would study about angels, or I'd do things. And, my family is very, Catholic, go to church, but they're also very, loving and open too. So I have one sister who's like, she doesn't believe in it, but she knows I'm not lying.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be, something I'm not. If anything, I'm, pushed to do these things, and I'd rather just stay home.
You said that you saw things in your mind's eye.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that came to me is, how can you distinguish when, we all have very
What's what and what's
varied
not.
thoughts, images, all of that. How do you determine?
Yeah. I would say that, what we teach is that it's not following your line of thinking. You know how you have a train of thought?
Yeah.
It just comes out of the blue. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. All of a sudden, you have an image of a person, and then you get a feeling about that person, and then you want to know more about that person. Tell me what it's like to be, you. What was your experience? Why are you here? What is your message? I mean, of course, all the time it's going to be a message of love. That goes without saying. And then there's people that want to give specific proof that they know what's been going on in their life, like, oh, you wore a blue dress at the wedding, things like that.
So you don't come in contact with people maybe who are angry?
I don't.
Okay.
Okay. So I will be very clear about that. I am very specific about the way that I will and won't work with spirit. So that's not a part of my energy. That's not who I am. I was trained, we were saying, like with Jenna and Havoc, they have name, rank, and serial number, how the person died. And that's a very big part of how they do their readings. And that's important for, like, and specifically, I said, one medium told me I was at the foot of the bed. That was great. But for me, Kathy, I don't want to see how somebody died. However, if it is important to the reading, if it's important for that person, like it was, that information was to me, that, there was a window to the left. That was pretty good. Even though, yeah, I'm a medium. Yeah, I've had experience. Yes, I've taught other people. Everybody doubts. Everybody always wants more proof. I mean, I even, I've even gone to the Journey Within. I look to see, are they looking at my license plate? Are they going to learn? And there couldn't be anybody more skeptical than me. Yet I've had all of these experiences in my life that I can't deny, and nor should we. So I think now I'm at this stage of life where I was brought to the church and the center and asked to speak and do things. And we were kidding around before, saying anybody who knew me before would know I would never get up and stand up and speak. But truth is truth, and these lessons are amazing because it raises your vibration. And it's about being a good person. It's about really looking at life and all of your interactions and being held accountable, being responsible. Not somebody's going to, God bless everybody. I don't mean to offend anybody. But we are responsible for what we do. And we need to make our forgiveness of others, just like, forgive us our trespasses, right?
Yeah.
I think there's something that should be cleared up regarding mediumship in general, and that now you have, it's like widespread. You have, I guess I shouldn't mention it, but you have a lot of people out there in the public eye who are claiming to be mediums and claiming to do trance. So the gentleman that generated these lessons, Bill Dalton, was an accomplished trance medium, and at a young age, we were 19 and 20, and when we started studying, we figured, well, this is how all mediums work. Well, we found out real quick that true trance mediums are 1 in a million. And when I say trance, I mean when the person actually leaves and another being comes in and speaks through them. And then I sat with many, many people in New York City who were very good frauds. I mean, really good frauds. And not the kind of frauds that Houdini found, but I mean, were professionals. And this is kind of inherent in the industry. You combine that with this fear, as you mentioned earlier, that certain religions consider this to be taboo, and this is a subject that people don't want to touch. So that's one of the things I think that we want to kind of dispel is, number one, this fear factor, and that or this factor of possession, someone's going to take control of you, that whatever you focus on grows. And if whatever you vibrate to.
But that would be in their mind. That would not be reality. That's not what the spirit world is like. I want to be really clear about that. The spirit world is love. Anybody tells you something else, they're wrong. Fear is not what the spirit world is like.
I don't want to go off on this tangent that I'm going to say now.
Okay.
But then this whole, I don't want to call it an industry, this whole thing about spirit possessions and exorcisms, it's psychological.
It's Hollywood.
It's in their mind. They're creating an energy around them that makes the thoughts are things. And if you keep thinking and creating and building this vibration of craziness or whatever you want to call it, then that person's creating it. Coming from them to create that.
Maybe exorcisms work because
they believe
that it's being expiated and
it's all belief.
Exercised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you a milder question, and that is: is the process of mediumship always available to people? I would think that at times nothing comes through. Does that happen?
That's an excellent question. I think I was even saying to Greg recently that a lot of the very famous mediums back in the day in the 1800s, there would be a period where they would have a little gap in their mediumship, and then they wouldn't do things for a little bit. But in general, it's about, I want to say, your mediumship changes in shifts. So, like, there's times where I would see things written on a whiteboard, right? There'd be other times where I'd hear things more. So it's always shifting and morphing in this. But you work. When you're a medium, you work with spirit, and you say how, as I was saying before, I don't want to really see somebody's death. I also, especially with kids, I really am very sensitive to that. So I know there's certain things. The Kathy will intervene, and I won't be able to give a proper reading because I will be emotionally upset by what I see. I know that about me. So for me, my experience, no, there is no negativity. In all the readings, anytime, and my friend will say the same, there's never been anybody who's mean and nasty on the other side. Not at all. And they're not unhappy either. I mean, they see us and they want to help us and this and that, but they're okay.
Are there authentic mediums that, so to speak, specialize in more difficult type of situations, like the type that you would not be?
There's lots of people who would do that. Yeah.
So are they authentic mediums, though?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they, of course. I mean, if they're comfort, like I said, I'm very sensitive to things like that, but there are other people who aren't. I mean, Jenna Havoc said, she would do a reading for someone and they would be crying, and she would say, oh, well, you can't, you're going to waste your time here. You waited 2 years for an appointment. You've got to not cry. And beautiful, beautiful, wonderful soul she was, but she was strong in a sense of she could deliver the message. She could deliver the information, the evidence, boom, boom, boom. not that she was insensitive, I don't mean it in that way,
Okay.
but she was able to make that separation, you know, and be able to really serve in that way.
And even if you yourself are open to the loving energies, are there any time something you've received that you think twice about imparting, or no?
I think that sometimes people, you know, my biggest problem is that I care very much about the person sitting in front of me.
You feel very responsible
for that. Yeah. So, you know, and they teach that, you know, if someone passed through suicide, you know, you want to be so careful about how you present that, you know, like might have had a hand in it, or, you know, it's hard. But then Spirit kind of gives you another way in. If you're not comfortable and it's really, really important for the message to get through, and they'll repeat it and repeat it. And that's another reason. You ask me, how do you know when it's not your mind or whatever? Is because it'll be repeated. It'll be repeated until, you know, you better say it. You know, you better say what you're seeing, because you feel that energy.
It's different than your usual
thinking
mode, in that you can tell.
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you'll just start talking and you don't even know what the next word is you're going to say, because you're just doing that, you know, you're in that mode.
So that's a different mode of communication that you're receiving when you're in that mode than when you see a picture in your mind. When you're speaking and you're not consciously aware of what you're quite saying next.
Yeah, that is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think that's more like when you're, you know, like when we do the healing at the church, and we do guided meditation. And like even this week, I typed up all of these great meditations to do,
but then,
you know, and then I get up there and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No. And then all these words will just come out of my mouth, and I'm thinking, and sometimes I'll think, oh, that was pretty good, you know, because I'm not really.
You're not even.
Afterwards, I'm thinking, I'm going to think about that.
You're more of a vessel.
But I think a lot of people, regular people who don't call themselves mediums, are mediums, because a lot of times when people are talking to someone they love, or friend, right, and that friend's going through a hard time, and you're having a heart-to-heart talk with them, and you're digging deep to come up with something to help them. And all of a sudden, you feel these words coming out of you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the thing that helps them.
That's a very interesting point to make.
You know, so people are more mediumistic than they realize. Yeah. And also, you know, my daughter's a writer. That's another form of mediumship. In that moment, you're getting that inspiration. It's the same thing. It's just tuning yourself to believe.
It's great how you're tying that in to everyday life, how it does happen for people. And on that note, I'm being told that we have to wrap up again. Thank you, Reverend Kathy, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.